They want us to think that we're an insignificant speck of dust, but let me tell you, we are so much more than dust in the wind.
At least 4 billion useless eaters will be eliminated by the year 2050.
I'm still waiting for somebody to show me gas pressure without a container.
I personally don't believe anything they say, right down to the God they claim they worship.
None of the math adds up.
You could stack up all their math books, all their science books, and even put all their degrees stacked up on top of that, and you still wouldn't be high enough to see the curvature.
This is exactly why grounding is so important.
We see too far.
We're just regular people who know we're being lied to. We're tired of it.
The bottom line is, there's only one choice left, and that's to dismantle this whole thing from the top down.
So I guess to kick it off, tell people who you are, what you do, where to find you, all that good stuff.
Cool. Well, my name is Robbie. What I do, my main job is I'm a stay-at-home dad. I have
Nice.
4 kids that are at home. I have 9 kids total.
Nice.
My oldest just turned 24 and just had his second kid, which is my
you're a
first
grandfather.
grandson.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome.
Wow. Yes.
So
sir.
I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, then a newborn grandson. I also have a 1-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son.
That's like
And
that
then
southern
going
thing
up
where
from that,
your aunt goes to school with you, you know?
Yep.
No, that's
Damn,
my dad's from
busy.
North Carolina. We grew up southern, so I'm just messing with you when I
Nice.
joke about that. I'm lucky I escaped the accent. I mean, actually, I don't think I'm lucky. I fucking love the accent, but
Right.
my dad, most people barely understand him, man. It was heavy. It was heavy. He used to say shit like owl snot on a doorknob and all kinds of stuff. So he was all the
Yeah.
southern colloquialisms.
Shoot my dog.
So yeah, continue. Sorry.
That's all
Keep
good.
going.
Anyway, I'm a flat earther, if that's not obvious.
What?
Yep.
The earth is flat.
You crazy kook.
Right. Anyway, so I grew up in the Pentecostal church basically my entire life. My uncle, I'm from Bristol, Tennessee. My uncle founded the very first Pentecostal church in the town. Like,
Wow.
cut my teeth on the pew, legit. Like, church my whole life. Started playing drums when I was 4 or 5.
Right on.
And then other stuff later. But anyway, so I did church, was a pastor for a while, got married at 18, and just church was basically my entire life. Didn't know anything outside of that. And then went through a divorce, and that effed me up. And
It'll
you know
do
how
that,
that
I've
goes.
heard.
It will. It will. But it also bring you to great places and
Correct.
great things. So basically, I've worked in restaurants for 20 years and stuff, managed restaurants. I've owned a restaurant before, stuff like that. And then just got into flat earth on accident because my kids
we all?
told me that a basketball player said the earth was flat. And I said,
Oh wow.
well, he's an idiot. That was my word. I said,
And
he's
so
an
it
idiot.
begins.
I've heard that before.
And I was like,
I've said that before.
dude, listen, I used to be a Toonite. Like, I thought MC Toon was a smart person.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Oh wow! So
I thought-
you were actually on the other side of the
Yes.
battlefield,
Like when
my man.
throwing
my
shit
kids
at
told me
us.
some basketball player was my original email address. It's my Gmail, which is my original YouTube account that I just used to watch videos. I didn't ever create anything.
Right.
Is called Flirtardia.
Oh no!
Yes,
And I've just left it there.
we are
The
clipping
same
this.
forever so that I have it forever. That
Oh man,
that's
what?
who I
That's like,
was.
yeah. Okay, it's one of those
But-
reminders.
Yeah. But dude, I would be in there, and then I was my second wife, we were going to something in Destin, Florida. And we were like 8, 9 stories up on the beach, and I'm watching the sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm watching the sunrise, it just clicks in my head, that bitch ain't rising. It's just coming straight at me. Like I could just see it.
Right.
Yep.
And I was just like, this confusion hit my head, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. As to why it's not rising. It's just why is the sun?
But did you
there?
change? Did you see it change in angular size? Did it?
Yeah.
Yes, when it's coming at you.
No,
it does change.
no,
Observer
you
height,
didn't.
bro.
No, you didn't.
Observer height.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah. What was
so-
your observer height?
Let's go ahead and we can correct this thing for people, and no one ever. This is part of perspective. An object that's already at its highest point above your head, as it moves away from you, does not necessarily appear to shrink in size. But an object is already at its furthest point above you, coming toward you, will always appear to grow in size. And you will never
Celestial
hear an
perspective.
anti-flirt use this.
I know.
They'll only talk
They
about
can't.
sunsets, and they'll never talk about sunrise.
That's a good point. That's a great point. I don't think I've ever seen
If it's
them
shrinking,
ever bring that up.
it's going to grow. If it's growing, then like that's how perspective works. It doesn't matter what it is. We can get on here with filters and do whatever we want to show that it appears to shrink. It doesn't matter because it doesn't need to, because that's how perspective works.
Right.
Not only that, but we all know that a lot of different things happen with atmosphere because we've all seen sunsets look different colors, different. Sometimes it'll look gigantic just because the way it's lighting up everything around it. So what I always like to talk about, and I mean, that proves them wrong to me, is like obviously that one time lapse video where the tides are
just
going
thinking
up
about
and
that.
down, the refraction's changing. Like if we can see it one time, your globe's done. If we can see it once, you're over. It's not, well, you can't see it in this example. Well, obviously we know that. We know it changes, but
Here's the thing: is that we can recreate all the claims of refraction, atmospheric lensing, and everything over a flat surface. We can recreate that over and over and over, and no one will ever recreate that using a curved surface. Just in a lab, go to scale, a piece of paper, whatever, curve that sucker, and try to make it look flat.
yeah.
Like it's actually flat, and they will never do
I don't
it.
know, man. Have you seen the Bill Nye video of the ship going over? It's
It's pretty
I mean,
definitive.
hands down.
Oh my God.
I haven't met a flurf that can beat it yet. I'm just saying. You know. Oh, Rufus is gone. The ISS is crashing.
A close second is the Carl Sagan one where he bends.
Oh,
the
that was
poster
the
board
one
a
I was
little
thinking
bit.
of. Yeah, with the sticks and shadows.
Bro.
Clearly, Aristophanes was correct because I have a poster board and I speak like this. It's so bad.
Every time he starts talking, I just like,
Oh, did he learn that in Area 51? He's done it all, hasn't he?
Dude,
like, is there anything Carl Sagan hasn't done? It's like him and what's his name? The
Shatner?
Oh,
William
there's another
Shatner.
one. Oh,
That dude.
jeez. Don't even get me started
Bob
on him.
Ross?
I feel like this is all what we should have been talking about at the end was the flat Earth thing, or we're just never gonna get into what you're here to talk.
Oh no, we're gonna get there.
We'll
we're
talk
gonna get
about
there.
flat Earth
we
all
can just
night, baby.
establish the
Oh,
foundation.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, we're
I thought we had a good old fashioned flat Earth fest tonight. That's
Yeah,
not what we're here
I mean,
for.
oh, we're not
we
doing
can
that.
do that. No, I mean he's here to talk about something else too, but we all
I know.
Great.
We'll get there.
Awesome.
Well, it all ties in, right? I'm sure all the lies and all that
yeah,
tie
especially
in.
because you came from being a whatever you called it, McToon's people. So
Oh, jeez.
like
Yes,
that's what
right,
I
you
want to
did
ask
say
you
that.
before we get to your awakening. I want to ask you: did you ever think? Wait, so did you believe in God back then?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
told me
he
you grew
was
up. 'Cause me
raised-
personally,
right.
well, I was raised that way too. My grandparents were Catholic. My mom was a
Same.
Christian who actually went to church every Sunday. I went with her. I played the part. Blah blah blah. And I even converted some people when I was younger, even though I didn't truly believe in my heart. It's just like what I felt I was supposed to do and did it. But
Right.
then when I found flat Earth, you can ask Bill. My whole existence changed. Not only did I start believing in God and a creator, my personality changed. I became better in every way.
And you
So-
fight for it.
Yeah.
You
I
fight
do.
for it now. Like,
And if you were a believer in God back then, did you ever have trouble reconciling that in your head?
I didn't, because like I listened to Rob Skiba a couple times, or tried to, before I liked him.
R.I.P.
So like I would
R.I.P.
try to. I listened to Rob with his biblical stuff, but then I'd sit there because I'm a Bible guy. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what it's talking about. And even now, and I know some people will get mad at me, like Genesis 1 is not talking about the actual creation of Earth. People are going to hate me for that, but we'll get to it later.
Okay.
And why. But the allegory is still relative to what Earth is, because the people would have never understood it to begin with if the allegory wasn't based on their reality. So
True,
regardless,
yes.
but my mind was like, well, they just thought that, but then well, that's just how they viewed it. And if that's just how they viewed it, and you want to say that the Bible has authority, then you have to view it the way that they viewed it.
And they thought the earth was flat.
Right.
So to
Or
get
doesn't
it, they would have had to believe the earth was flat.
Right. If you're saying God is revealing this to them, it can't just be their perspective. It has to be what God's revealing to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
if you believe the Bible and trust it, then you have to accept their paradigm as reality, not the one that was given to us, regardless of what they show us on a screen.
Makes sense to me.
I believe
And
it.
that's
So what? Go ahead. Sorry.
that's what basically, and I was at the time away from God big time, dude. I mean, going through divorce and bad relationships and having kids out of wedlock and just being a whore. Like, I was an idiot, dude. And
Fair enough.
man.
At least you own it.
right. I mean, it is what it is.
We've all been there, man. I was not
Right.
a good
You're
person.
never
I
gonna
wasn't
learn
a
from
bad
anything.
person. I never hurt anyone or stole, but other than that, I wasn't the best person before I came to this.
I
So
wanted
totally
to be a
get it.
whore. I wanted to be a whore. I don't know if that counts or anything, but it never really happened.
Hey, it's the thought
So-
that counts, bro.
Okay.
It's the thought that
counts.
But dude, I was just an idiot. But I had an experience, which I'd had experiences and stuff growing up, and I've seen all kinds of stuff, and I don't want to discount those because they're legit. But I had a different one. I was homeless. I had a 1995 Dodge Neon car that someone had given to me, and I was supposed to pay them $500 for it, and never paid them the $500 because I was just a shit person, and they loved me and let me have it anyway.
Right.
And I was living in this thing, and I had some unemployment coming in. I had walked out on, dude, I made six figures. I made good money, had good family, cars, all the, whatever. And was getting some unemployment checks. Would get it when I'd get my kids, I'd go stay at this shit ass Roadway Inn motel, so that I would have somewhere to put my kids, and they wouldn't realize that their dad lived in his freaking car. Kept my phone on to where I could text, and people thought I was, just looking for a job and, doing my thing. And I'm laying there in this hotel after I just dropped my kids off with their mom. And I'm flipping through the TV, and I stop on TBN, which is, I know TBN, it's awful. Like, I can't stomach it.
You probably
now
put it
either.
on to laugh or something.
Well, not just stop because the dude on there honestly was a hippie. Jesus, it was like some special from this dude was one of the what they call it back in the day? Shit.
Televangelist.
The Jesus movement, when it was all the hippies and you had Larry Norman.
I know what you're talking about. But I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, back in the
it'll come
60s
back to
and
us.
70s. Yeah, it'll hit us in a minute. Anyway, this dude's on there, and he just caught my attention watching him. And I grew up listening to like DC Talk and stuff, and Larry Norman was one of their biggest influences. So I listened to him. And I'm sitting there, and he's talking. This dude, I can't remember the guy's name that was actually on. And he's talking. He just started singing, dude, just strumming and singing. And I don't even know what the song was. It wasn't like some deep theological sounding, it was just a basic, simple whatever, dude. And I'm just laying there. And like the thoughts rushing through my head is myself is just like, God, I miss you. Like, I'd experienced so many things and seen stuff and had, so much. And in all of that, I missed that feeling of communion with God. And when I said it, dude, something enveloped the room and my body, like just hugged me. And hugging's the only way I knew. It wasn't a hug, but it was a hug. Like, I don't know.
This overwhelming
You were
sense
wrapped
of
in it.
love. Yeah.
Just enveloped me, man. And in that moment, like, I didn't know, like, I had all these doctrines and all these dogmas and stuff that I grew up studying and looking at the Bible from this angle and always wanting it, you know, everything had to fit through these glasses that I was wearing. And then all of a sudden I was like, this doesn't fit my glasses. Like, this doesn't fit those lenses at all. And I wasn't better after that. Like, I was kind of a shit show still for a while. Like, but it was just that something in me that was working and turning and pushing. And I saw something that popped up on Flat Earth, and I started looking into it some more. And I was like, oh, here, I'll just use some time hating Flat Earthers. And, you know, this is years go by and all this stuff. And when I started hating the Flat Earthers is when I started actually looking into it, because I caught McToon. I don't remember what it was exactly. It's been 7, 8
With the
9
right?
years.
No, sorry. Sorry, man. If I see an in, I'm going to take it, especially when it comes to that dude and FTFE. Both of them can go FTFE themselves.
Right.
So, yeah.
But
anyhow, so go ahead. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
He was debating somebody. And something he said it was like I realized that he didn't answer the question for the first time. It clicked, like, wait, he's not actually answering their question. That's not what they said.
Yes.
And when I said that, I was like, oh.
Was it Witsit?
I don't remember. It wasn't Witsit. It was somebody I don't even remember. Like,
oh, okay. All right.
And then you were like, wait, everything he says.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
not just something he said, it's everything.
That's what I started noticing. I started paying attention a little bit more, noticing.
Right.
But
and he gets very frustrated too, very easily frustrated.
Trying to slip in a clean Jew joke.
I know. As soon as you said noticing, I knew where you were going. That's why I was like, oh, here it comes.
But I started noticing that wait, you're not actually answering the questions. And then I would catch myself when I would get in the chat, and I'm like, I'm not answering the question. I'm just repeating back what somebody said.
Dude, this
and
warms
once I
my
realized
heart.
that,
Please
dude,
keep going.
so I started like looking a little bit more, and I still obviously I didn't get it. Like, I started watching Dave a lot. Flat Earth Dave, sorry,
Yeah.
Professor Dave.
Yeah. No, everybody knows.
I know who you meant. Yeah.
The good Dave.
Yeah.
But I started watching his stuff, and it just wasn't clicking. His sunrise thing, I was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I see what he's doing, and yes, I get that. But then when I had the experience watching it from a balcony, and I saw what he showed me in real life, I said, oh, shit, Earth is flat. Yes. Like, that was it. Because
that's pretty awesome.
You can't replicate it over the globe like that.
So can we say that McToon had a hand in you becoming a flat earther?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yes. Can we write that down?
Justification, because we always joke with them and say, you guys create way more flat earthers than we do.
They do. I honestly, I love it. I really do.
I'm so glad.
You have to be all out, decided that you're going to be a flat earther to stay, or be an anti-flat earther to stay a glober, or at least stay an anti-flat.
Right, like, you have to become that, right? Yeah, it's solely
like if you question for 1 second and honestly question, it's over. And that's what it's like. As soon as I realized, this fucker didn't actually answer the question, and his top left thing, and I started realizing they're all whack jobs. Like you're all weirdos. All probably.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you: are they like? Is there a camaraderie there? Are they all like buddies, and you all
I don't know,
get around and?
I'm not really sure. I'm sure they do. I don't know. Like I was
But
I
you
was
weren't
hoping you were just gonna-
involved
on the
in any back
end of it.
channels or anything.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
But like
I,
you
Dude,
thought
I
I
just
just
wonder what
say-
it's like. I just wonder what it's like.
I woke up this morning with the thought in my head, and I actually posted it, and now I know why I did. Came out of nowhere. I love stuff like this. This happened. That's why we're on Twitter. Came out of nowhere. That's why we started a podcast. Came out of nowhere.
Yep.
I mean, I know where it came from, but I'm just saying it came out of nowhere. But I woke up this morning with this thought, and it's exactly what you just said about how, in this case, Globies and all normie people that don't want to look at anything, they look at something that goes against what they believe and they say, that's stupid. I'm not going to look at it. People like us and where you are now, they see something that goes against what they believe and they're like, that completely goes against what I believe. I better look into it. That's the difference right there. And once you get to that, it's over, man. It's over.
I'll tell you the reason that I was able to do this, and it's wild because I look back and I think, because dude, I went through, like you talk about church hurt and church trauma,
Yeah.
not just receiving it, causing it, all of it, you know, like. But I look back, and had I not been raised in the format that I was, I would have never been able to question, because I ended up getting hired by a church in 2007. God bless America. That's a long time ago.
We're all old, man. We're all old.
I think it was 2007. And
Yeah.
the pastor of that church, like when I say Pentecostal, I'm talking about women didn't cut their hair, skirts to the floor. I grew up not wearing shorts, no facial hair. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
you could, like, you didn't do nothing, bro. Like, you are almost Amish. Okay.
Almost
Almost
I like it.
Amish.
I like it.
Amish are better than Pentecostals.
Amish, I think Amish got it figured out, man. I'm
They
not
do.
gonna lie. If I could just go and be implanted in one and they would accept me, no one would ever see me again. Ever. I'd be gone.
It's funny you say that.
Oh.
Like, that's
Look,
why
it's
I'm
story
growing the
time.
beard.
Yeah.
I just shaved my beard recently, man. I had one like you. We would have been twinsies.
Man, that's
Damn
okay.
it.
I trim mine off, and my kids look at me like I'm crazy.
Yes.
Oh god.
Dude, they need if we need to up the normal people in the Amish game, though. I feel like the genetic pool is like maybe a little bit off. You know,
we don't.
Right.
You don't want to go. It's like Tropic Thunder. You never want to go full retard. We're not going to go full.
Don't go
Amish.
full.
Right.
Yeah.
Because-
I just want to be
Never go
Amish
full
adjacent.
Amish, bro.
Right, we're going to go Amish adjacent. We'll avoid
Listen,
the autism
guys.
shots. Like the
Listen,
Amish
guys.
do.
Now you're putting too much leaven in the bread. All right, you're gonna ruin it.
Oh no.
We need a little melanin in the Amish group, you know. It doesn't need to be like, you know, there's got to be a little bit of skin tone, though. You know. I've seen the Amish, man. I love the Amish.
Let me
but,
just
you know,
write
there's a
down
piece of
22
paper.
minutes and 40 seconds for Death the Clip before his response, because I have a feeling it's going to be spicy.
Clip or to clip out before.
To clip out.
we-
To clip out. Sorry. That's what I meant.
Oh.
Oh man, this is great. You know, I told him as soon as he got here, the thing that made this happen was, well, he messaged me, which is awesome, but
Nice.
just watching his couple videos, I was like, I already feel like I know this dude, and I had no clue why, and now I do.
He
Now
didn't
I
even get
do.
this. Yeah, that's right. So everybody listening or watching, he has a TikTok. What was your TikTok?
It's True
Well,
Earth.
which one is it now?
Yeah, Truearth.Truman 4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
Right.
All right,
No
so-
E on true on either side. TRU Earth,
All right.
TRU Man.
Okay.
Or you can
Everybody go watch his
TrueArthTrueman.com is my website.
Yeah,
So
dude,
what
do you
kind of-
have a Twitter?
I do. I'm on
You
Twitter
need
also.
to make a Twitter, and oh, you already have one. You need to start
Yeah.
posting your videos on Twitter. They
There you
do
go.
very well there.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
won't get cut off.
I don't get any traction ever, so I
We'll
just.
We'll change that.
You will now.
All right.
Don't
Yeah, all right,
worry.
gotcha.
I never talk about it on Twitter, but I just hit 80,000 today, so we're good. We'll
Yeah.
push you a
I
little
got
bit.
like 200, and this is like
Hey.
my 8th Twitter account.
Dude, but you're a flat earther, so you're gonna do great.
Yeah, we'll
You
bring
hear
you
that,
in the group.
bitches? You hear that, you little bitches? I know some of you are listening.
Oh, I know. They do, because I've seen posts about shit we say on the podcast
I
from
know.
Globies.
And they
It's
try to
like,
use it against us. I know. Like, which episode was it? This doesn't matter. Anyhow, yeah. So what kind of content you put on there?
So, which is basically what we were going to talk about was Freemasonry and church in America and stuff like that.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's a spicy subject right here.
that's why we're here, Rufus.
Yeah.
It's not even flat Earth.
Better than I ever imagined.
A lot of pastors and stuff are Freemasons, huh? The Freemasons have definitely made their way into the church, and in a lot more ways than would be like to be desired, I would imagine.
And they're misleading the congregation, it sounds like.
I hear. This is what I hear.
I mean, have you seen the Pastor Duffy's logo for his church? It does seem to look a lot like a Freemason compass and.
I actually haven't seen it. So
who is that?
Square.
Will
the
Duffy.
guy doing the final experiment.
Oh, Will Duffy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the final experiment. That's not an experiment. It's an observation. It's not. They should have called it the final observation. They're not doing anything. They're looking.
That's one of the things that drives me nuts is, bro, just do an experiment. Like literally do an experiment on a curved surface. I know we just talked about this, but just do it. Like they will not.
No, bro.
Yeah,
Let's spend
not only
thousands of dollars and
dude,
go
the one thing that will change it all is manipulate gravity in a lab. Period. All flat earthers will be gone if you can manipulate gravity. Yeah, isolate and manipulate gravity. Period. Right. Do anything. Show that this is what it is, and look, we can change it, and it does this. They can't do that. They can't alter it. They can't isolate it. They can't do anything. They're just
can
like,
remove it.
Oh, well, a plumb bob sucks to a mountain at 1 degree. Like, no, it doesn't. And Cavendish had to do it in a shed because so my very first debate, it wasn't even a debate. I was such a jerk. I just trashed the dude. I actually told him I was going to stab him one day, but we won't talk about that.
It's fact. It definitely happened. The dude was just, he knew. I only
agreed to debate him because he was attacking females in our comments with trashy stuff that you shouldn't be saying to a woman. And I never even wanted to debate. And then I was like, that's it. I'm going to do it just because of that.
Fuck this guy up.
Yeah, that's what I did. And he argued for a long time about the plumb bob, but he also said the reason Cavendish had to observe his lead balls through a telescope, or not a telescope, a periscope thing, whatever you want to call it, is because that his body weight or his body mass would affect the experiment. And I said, what about the fucking shed? What about the shed, dude? What about the mass of that? And he had no answer. He's like, it's equal on each side. I was like, did you have the schematics? No. I'm like, you don't even.
It's still mass.
I know. I was
still
like,
mass. Put balls on all around it.
And he's like, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And it was like he kept going. So he's like, dude, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to stab you. Either answer the question or it's over. And it is just like he would go on to the next. It was hilarious. Honestly, it was one of the first spaces we ever did as like a whole group that people heard our voices and they heard this. And it was like, damn, everybody's just blown away. Like, whoo, these dudes are just as much dicks as they are when they're writing it is when they're saying it. It was like, yeah, man, like, and we tried.
Possible.
We had to go back and do it. Remember that? We did in other spaces. We're like, sorry, man. Yeah, just
we're
so
not
y'all know
always
this,
like that.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, we wanted to know that at least you're getting the real deal, right? Like, whatever we type, we could say it in person as well. But
speaking of spaces, on Indigenous Peoples Day, on Columbus Day, we're doing an Indigenous Earthers space on Twitter.
Yes.
So if you would like to join us, so people get to know your account and get to know you're a flat earther,
Robbie,
we'd love to have
get
you
in
up
there.
and to talk. So
Yeah,
we'll talk after this and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I got to find you on Twitter and DM there because I'm horrible at TikTok. This week is the only week in my life I kept checking TikTok, and it was because of you checking the messages to make sure like, because I never check my messages on TikTok. I'll like post something and just ignore it. But I was like, I just want to
Jerk.
make sure this dude's gonna be here. I know I'm bad. Twitter's my home. I'm sorry. I never thought I'd say that, but that's where you. To me, it's the easiest format to speak to people directly, where it's easy. The comments are much easier than TikTok to me. They're in a better
Right.
format where you can see who's commenting on what.
That's
and all
wild
that.
how we're the opposite on stuff like that. Like to me, TikTok, I deleted everything. Like I was fed up. Facebook I had since 2009, deleted it, like everything, and had been off social media for probably 2 or 3 years. And you know what? I was like, you know what? My older daughter wanted TikTok, so I was like, I'm going to download TikTok and see. And I was
Gotta
like,
check it out.
yeah. And then I started getting stuff I like and started realizing, oh, I could have like actual conversations with people that nobody around me wants to talk about this shit.
Right.
And then once that was on, dude, I loved being able to just face-to-face reply instead of having to try to hide behind the keyboard and shit.
Yeah.
What makes
I guess
Freemason-
because oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what makes Freemasonry so attractive, like for people in the church? Like, what do they see in it?
So Freemasonry is to the Protestant what the sacraments are to the Orthodox. The Protestant church has no sacraments. I mean, we say, we practice marriage, but we have this very, very loose, free version of everything. In comparison to the Orthodox church, where it's like you can't just get married. Like you've got to do things and meet certain requirements and all these stuff.
Yeah,
correct.
And yes, there are Protestant churches that do things like that. But overall, especially in America, the Protestant churches don't have anything like that. We don't treat baptism as a rite. We don't treat Eucharist as a rite. We treat these as things that you emotionally come to a conclusion that you should do, rather than teaching you should do this.
So it's like a privilege that you have to earn to be able to have that sacrament.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yes. Or you get it at birth, like you're baptized at birth.
Right.
And,
Going through the motions.
And I think we are so wrapped up in America and the emotional side of stuff that we miss the benefit of the motions, and that there is good to religiosity. It's not all bad. Right. And if we marry the two instead of building a wall between them, then we'll actually have something that's kind of whole rather than this constant what we have now. But the Freemasonry offers, and just for clarity, I'm not a Freemason.
Okay.
I have filled out an application to join once before. And when it got knocked off the shelf and my child got a hold of it with a Sharpie within a few minutes or so, I just took that as I'm not going to do that. So I didn't do that. But my dad is a Freemason, has been for a long time. And I can say with 100% certainty that the vast majority of Freemasons, if any at all, are just normal dudes that have no idea.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. Even so-called 30 seconds or a 33, like when you actually understand how it works, it's just a club. It really is for most people. And that's not to say that there aren't people in there that take it seriously and get into the occultism and esoterics and stuff like that, because there are. But most of the people that do those things are outside of Freemasonry when they do it. They'll be in groups like the Lima, what's those freaking Frankists, stuff like that. Like these, they use a lot of the same symbology. The Catholic Church also has a lot of the same symbology.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make the symbology evil. And that's where our conspiracy minds, we get that, especially in America. Oh, I got to shun it because this person did that, and that's got to be. And so we miss the big picture of, we can never win and never overcome because we're just going to argue and fight and try to expose the conspiracies rather than educate ourselves, learn the symbols, learn what it's for and how to use or not use, depending on what it is and whether that's useful or beneficial to you. Because in Christ, all things are allowed. All things. When he did his work, he opened the door. And we've been trained religiously to not open the door at all to anything because we're scared to death of hell. But Freemasonry offers that esoteric side to where the Protestant church doesn't have it for the most part. And the Orthodox church does have it. They have like actual spirituality where we have emotionalism.
Yeah.
And that's where the big divide is. And that's where the actual evil in the Freemasonry is. It's not in the control of Hollywood and like that type of stuff. Like that's easy to throw symbols in junk and make people chase rabbit holes. It's hard to get them to realize, no, it's the fact that they started with Mormonism. If you look at the timing, and Joseph Smith got out of hand, and that's why they squashed it like they did.
Yeah.
And then you'll notice like they're accused. There's a lot of accusations and stuff. Like we could break down and do a whole podcast on just that if we wanted to, on just Joseph Smith's death, the church's story versus the mainstream story, and then putting those together and finding where that truth mingles.
Yeah.
To me, I see them like Joseph Smith's like, oh, got you guys. I'm about to run this shit. And they're like, nope, and took him out, but let the people that were in charge of the church keep that.
Right.
And then you see Freemasonry go silent. This is the time where there's no more Freemasonry in the news, no more like, it just goes silent. And it's nothing. But then you'll see your Seventh-day Adventists start popping up. Your Jehovah's Witnesses start popping up. Your all these other Protestant denominations, so-called, start popping up. And they're not Christian. They're not Christian, guys. Pentecostals. I love Pentecost. I grew up in it. It's not Christian. Like all these things that's what they're influenced by. And that's where all this like
Can you dive into a little more of your explanation on why they are not Christian versus what is Christian? Is that able to be done?
Yes. So because they're offering you the false light, that presenting yourself as an angel of light thing, where should I say that right now? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tell this to everybody because this needs to be, especially if you're a believer in Jesus, and you have to realize he's the king of everything.
Okay.
And so we don't give the enemy what's not his. Lucifer is not the devil. It was never a name for the devil. Lucifer just means bright and morning star or morning star. Jesus is Lucifer. It's a title, and it is Jesus. Peter calls him Lucifer, and Jesus himself in Revelation 22 says, I am the bright and morning star. It's in Isaiah 14 what Jerome was doing. I'm sorry I'm getting sidetracked a little bit, but
that's okay.
In Isaiah 14, Jerome is not showing you Satan. He's pointing you to Jesus. He's using the Old Testament story of Nebuchadnezzar and his fall and his claim to try to take all this authority for his flesh and showing you, nope, you're going to die just like a man. You're going to be judged, to be in the grave. Your children will die. They won't build great cities in your name. Like, you're done. And then you see Jesus go into the wilderness to be tempted and reject the kingdoms. All these things that Nebuchadnezzar wanted to do, that he was going to rule in this flesh forever and never die, and he was going to be God. That's what it meant, that he was going to ascend to heaven. Like, haughty enough to think that his body was going to live forever. And it's all these Egyptian gods with all their crap and your alchemy and all this trash of trying to get this body to live forever. And it's never going to happen. Never, ever.
Yeah.
It's just not the point. But that's what Jerome was doing with the Latin Vulgate when he used the word Lucifer there, is he's wanting you, when you get to Peter and you get to Revelation, what John is saying, to say, oh, this is how he got raised to be the king. Like, if you want to be raised like Christ, you have to be like Christ, not just go accept Jesus in your heart. Not, you have to be unto the death of the cross. Like, he could have, you can name yourself
Right.
God. Like, the esoterics aren't wrong. When Freemasonry and the New Age stuff says I am applies to you, it does. But it doesn't, you have to have the mind of Christ to ever be raised to the fullness of that. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. So Christ is the Lucifer, not Nebuchadnezzar. Not a devil. It's not even talking about a devil. It's not talking about an angel. It's talking about a king. And Jesus is a king. So Jerome is showing us in Latin, Jesus, look, he rejected all these things, and this is what God did. God raised him up. He even says the death of the cross specifically to hit Deuteronomy. And this is what people try to, especially the Jewish mind, cannot comprehend. That in Deuteronomy, he says the cursed man dies on the tree. Jesus is reversing the curse. That's why it says even the death on the cross, because he's reversing back to the Old Testament into Deuteronomy. And this is what the Lucifer, the morning star, does. This is what the creator of heaven and earth does, because he loves his creation. He dies himself. He doesn't beg you for sheep and goat. He doesn't beg you to twist a chicken's neck off and beat it against a fucking Roman wall.
Yeah.
It's your heart, a living sacrifice. That's it. Anyway, sorry.
It's okay.
No, it was.
Jesus is Lucifer. Lucifer's not the devil.
Now this seems
we got to
very...
stop calling Jesus the devil. That's my point.
Okay. This is very, very
reconciliation.
Close. Right. A lot of this is close to what I've heard about Freemasonry, though, isn't it? Or is it just...
No, well, Albert Pike. Now, I'm not saying things have been perverted, but if you actually read Albert Pike yourself, instead of all of our videos, and I say our because I've shared them a million times.
Right.
Got 56,000 followers on my first account showing them. But if you go read it, Albert Pike is questioning, it's the church's fault, is why that Jesus Lucifer thing is confused. It's not the Freemasons' fault.
Okay.
Because Albert Pike in his writing, he says, Lucifer, what a strange or what a curious name to call the Prince of Darkness. But then if you read the next two lines, he goes on, Albert Pike was a Jesus freak. Like, he loved Jesus. He was just as confused as everybody else is.
So I'm confused now.
Right? Like not everything is necessarily evil, and not every person was trying to do something bad. Like the whole Albert Pike with the they need a hero, we'll give it to him thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use a little, stop using Glober logic when we read that letter. Because if you read that letter and you just go look about when Albert Pike lived and you think about some of the words that are in it, if he wrote that, he's inventing words and phrases that didn't exist. No one had uttered those words and phrases for 100 years, up to like it hadn't ever been spoken. Zionism.
So you're saying we have a little bit of a Anne Frank situation going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Albert Pike did not write that conspiracy letter
Ruthless.
talking about giving us like heroes. He didn't do that. Somebody else planted that.
I don't believe anything from our past, honestly. I'm not. So first of all, let me be clear about one thing. Whether we agree with you on this or not, I 100% want to hear it, respect your right to say it, and think other people should hear it. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. That's what we're about, because whatever. But
Correct.
I also don't believe anything from our past. Nothing. Because anything, first of all, history is written by the victors. That's one part of it. But there's multiple levels of that, because we know even the people who we think are the victors are run by other people. So history is really written by people we've never met that have an agenda that we probably don't fully comprehend, because we can't yet.
And there's
but
so many different versions
so
of it.
I mean, until if I haven't met a person and been able to get my vibe off them and feel them, I have no clue what they meant. The quotes could be taken apart, quotes could be altered. I don't believe any of it. So right there, I don't believe any of that shit. So I can only deal with like when I see a person face to face that I'm conversing with, I can tell you if they're genuine, and I can get their inflection of how they mean something when they're saying it. I guarantee you could take 100 quotes from me that make me seem like a complete piece of shit if you take them out of context. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You could be like,
Yeah.
even in
No, you're right.
in this one podcast, you could have a few that make me sound horrible if you take them out of context. So I don't believe any of it. So I'm not disputing what you're saying. This is just all new to me. So if my face looks like, it's because I've never heard this aspect,
Well,
and I'm not
yeah.
saying I agree with you, but I'm also not saying I disagree with you. This is just new to me, and I want to hear it, and
It just
explore
sounds so Masonic. It's blowing my mind. Like that's at least what
So-
I've been, you know what I mean? What I've been shown to be Masonic, right?
Okay,
Like the whole,
so do you remember the video? And it's in Eric DeBay's stuff, and this is why I stopped listening to anything he says.
right?
It's
Okay.
because I caught him when I started going and searching the same way I caught McToon. I
Okay.
caught him
Okay.
being super fucking dishonest with shit. And
Okay.
we've all probably seen it a million times. There's a video and it shows this little boy with like a veil on, and they're marching him through a thing, and we paint it to make it look like they're marrying off this kid to a
Oh,
Freemason.
the boy marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called DeMolay, and it's like a legitimate kids thing that's part of Freemasonry. And it's not like it's a ritual, a ceremony, but it's a public ceremony. Like he intentionally cropped. I went back and found the original, and he was like intentionally cropped shit out to make it look like it was something and it wasn't. And you can see there's people, all kinds of people there with cameras and shit watch. And so like, that's what got me actually looking back into the Freemason stuff.
Okay.
A little bit deeper, was because it's like, caught the fucker. Like, why, if we have to lie about something, if you have to cut it,
But what is
why?
Okay, so but what's the ceremony then?
I can't remember what it's about.
Because I've
Hold on,
heard,
let me find it.
yeah, yeah, that's fine. Take your time. But I mean, from what I've heard, it's just odd. It's so odd, and there's a lot of things like the murderous rituals and stuff like that they do. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, so, and that's one of the things. Freemasonry is basically preserving the knowledge of most of the pagan religions. And so that's what you're seeing, pagan.
right? Yeah, these old
Acts.
rituals. Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
So yeah, that's what it is, which is why I don't want to sound like I'm defending Freemasonry, but I want to attack the false arguments because it makes the rest of our arguments null and void.
Null and void. Yeah, I agree.
I-
I respect that. Yes.
Yeah.
So when I say things that are positive in defense, which they are in defense, but it's not overall in defense. It's just of those particular things, because
Right.
it's, again, we don't have to lie.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
we
it's
can
like
just-
no.
if
We can
someone
just
starts
call out
spreading
the blatant paganism.
if
Right,
someone
yeah,
starts
yeah.
spreading a rumor that Klaus Schwab fucked some little kid in the ass, if there's no proof of it, I'm not going to push it because he's already evil. We don't need to
Right.
worry about that, man.
And,
That's what
and
I'm
how
saying.
many
Like,
people won't go read his book telling you that you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy and you're going to be a slave
once they find
because,
out.
because somebody said that he butt fucked a kid.
Yeah.
Like
I
a
get
lot of
Which the reason I use that is because I've heard people say that, and with no kind of proof whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just,
No,
it's
it was
just
it's just the word choice is colorful.
oh, sorry. No, I mean I just mean
guess-
that's what people were saying.
Right?
So I was
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, I know. I know.
sorry,
It's
I
just-
should have made that
I
clear.
wasn't-
That
no, it was just.
I was referencing a quote.
wasn't-
I was quoting.
Okay. All right, I wasn't ready for it.
I'm sorry. I was quoting something I saw on Telegram of people just posting
Yeah.
shit that they have no basis for.
Telegram?
And I'm
No
like,
way. I don't believe
I know. I'm just saying because like he's saying there's enough to attack
Yeah.
without
You're right.
making stuff up. So
Fair enough.
I mean, I just figured
Fair
they all
enough.
had to do that to be part of the club.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's probably, that's
200
probably
men
true.
had to shoot semen on them.
Oh my God. I just forgot the word fail.
Bones. Were you able to find that? The actual.
I'm looking it up now. I searched my notes the wrong way,
Oh, okay.
and it's not gonna.
Through the
let's
wrong
see.
end after what Ted said.
Dude, come on. You're never going to let me live that down. I saw it on Telegram, bro. It has to be true.
It's just don't clip it.
I won't. Don't worry.
Oh, this is great. Oh God. Okay.
While I'm trying to find this, but so Freemasonry takes the Bible, and this is why people also it's odd. Our group, I'm just going to say, the conspiracy theorist realm has some weird cognitive dissonances that they don't see. And it's wild. So most of Christendom, especially in our world, love the King James Version of the Bible and have no realization that it's specifically written for the esoterics of the Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's written. It's not for anything else. The KJV was put together in the format that it was because we had better English translations before.
Right.
And even better ones that he used. But they specifically did that so that they could use it in their rites and rituals. So that it would line up and they can use it and cover it and give you that false light.
Wasn't it basically because there was like revolting going on and King James was like, I need to mesh these together and make it where my people will get along. So here's this new Bible that includes all of it. At least that's what I've read multiple places.
Somewhat, yes.
Glazed over version of it. Although he missed a lot of
he missed the best
version.
books.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of the
Jubilees,
good
Enoch, a bunch of good ones. Yeah, I left all those out.
Yeah, what do you think about those? How do you feel about those?
I love the Apocrypha. 1 Enoch's my favorite.
That was the other one. Thank you.
But the KJV had them all. The original KJV had all the Apocrypha in it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
So
you can still get KJV with them.
Really?
Yeah. American Protestantism over time, we took them out because it conflicts. This is where we get into the Jews and where we get into American Christianity and how Freemasonry went awry in perverting shit with the Jewish nonsense, Kabbalah stuff. That's what Pentecost is Kabbalah. That's what Adventist is Kabbalah. Mormonism is Kabbalah. Like, they're all Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Why?
And I'll make it clear again right now. We talked about this before we started. We know, me and you both talked about this. It's not every Jewish person that knows this. Just like it's not
We're
every
say
Catholic.
Babylonian from now on.
Yes,
Babylonian.
not every Catholic was
like
in
that.
on raping altar boys. Not
Right.
every whatever. You know, not all of them are in on it. But just like at the top, the Zionists, the whatever you want to call them.
But
those are the people behind.
They all cover for it.
Oh, they do.
all cover
They
for
do.
it. That's
They
the
do,
crap.
and all religions, they all do.
Right.
Well, you know.
So
that's how
don't
it
let
is.
the bad apple ruin the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's hit the Catholic one real
gefilte
quick
fish.
for a second. If you ever
Yeah.
read the
Let's.
report that came out on it, it came out to about after their investigation, like they did a legitimate, like deep investigation into the shit, and it's all public.
Mm-hmm.
About 4% of priests were guilty of some kind of a sexual crime. What's the percentage of the general population that's homo?
There you go.
About 4%. So you had about 4% of the homo population hiding as priests.
Wow, dude.
But we demonized the church instead of the homo population.
I have my own reasons to dislike the Catholic Church. To me, that was just
there
icing
are
on the cake.
definitely some. Lots.
It was
but,
just, yeah.
But again, it comes back to those that's one it doesn't need to be, because if you look at it, it's like, oh, and you see the media blew it up and everybody talks about the kids in Canada buried or whatever, and come to find out there were no damn kids buried.
Yeah. Just like the Boy Scouts, there was probably only a small percentage of them, and everything is sensationalized. I get that. It's just like
The problem
they do the same thing with domestic terrorists and shit. Like there's so many of them. Like,
but
there
the
was
problem
one
I
dude.
have with it is there's the accountability factor, right? Like they don't go to. I haven't heard of them
Nothing
go to prison.
happens to them, dude.
They don't
It's
go to
always
prison.
swept
They
under
might
the
get,
move 'em
you know.
around.
And I think
Yeah.
it's more than just being gay too. I mean, because gay guys, they would normally go for someone their own
I had a
age,
gay
but they're
priest
always going
that
for
married
the
us. I
children.
didn't know.
Well, when I
but
said 4%, that's not just children. That was the overall, like, all sexual crimes.
Mhm.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
So
That's-
it hit like the whole.
Yeah.
right.
Shit,
through the
my
O's and all
church
of
was
them.
my church was about like an 80% rate, man. It was way above 4%.
Damn.
Yes. And
Where were you going? Is it still there?
I think
Was
it's
it
higher than
Utah's
that.
fire?
Maybe 4% of them got caught, dude. But I've seen some.
Jeez,
I don't know.
man.
I've seen a little bit of evidence of some stuff.
Yeah, no,
We're gonna have to talk
happening
off air,
and-
Rufus. We're gonna-
Yeah, we gotta-
I'll bring the doll.
I just
You
feel like
can
it's
show-
trauma. It has to do with trauma. It's not me, dude. I was an altar boy, you know.
No.
Well, how do you think
Well-
I feel? I didn't, and no one ever came on to me. I think they
You feel
they
rejected.
They go for the low hanging fruit. I think they go for the ones that they know aren't gonna
Oh,
push
yeah.
back,
Say
you know,
anything
and I was
or
kind
do
of a
anything.
The
little
ones who
shit,
don't have a
so-
dad
yeah.
in the home.
I wasn't
and
a
Yeah,
prime
the one whose
candidate.
mom won't make them be an altar boy.
exactly.
the ones that want to be an altar boy.
Oh man.
Oh.
I know that took a weird turn.
It was
All
bad.
right.
It was bad. It was a big news story, though.
Bring it
every
back.
time,
Bring it back.
Every time, you know, it's always the cardinals or the bishops, and they just kind of like, oh, we know it's happening, and they disappear, but then nothing ever happens.
My thing with the Catholic Church is more the structure behind it and everything like that. I feel, and the deities and everything else that encompasses that, as well as, you know, the ones that are you know, found to be criminals, especially sexual criminals and all that. They don't. I have yet to hear. Maybe you would know of one, Robbie, but I've yet to hear of one that was publicly denounced, thrown out of the church, and went to prison. I don't think there is one.
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah, I usually they just get, you know, moved to a different country, and then all of a sudden you find out 10 years later that they started another Catholic church there in Santo Domingo, and
Yeah.
now you know, and it's like,
And if you
I
just want to be more pragmatic about the Catholic Church and you think that all this is conspiracy theory, just think about all the riches that Vatican City has, and they're not doing anything to help the poor. There you go. They should
that's
be
not
doing
true.
something.
That's not true.
The Catholic Church does a shit ton of charity stuff.
Oh, that's true. Okay, they do. They
And
should
builds
be doing more.
hospitals, and I mean,
Oh, with St. Jude.
I mean,
Don't get me started on that. Anyway, I mean, yeah, I know. I think you and I could butt heads on a couple of things, but we won't do it now, only because I want to hear more about what you have to say as far as the Freemasonry in the church and where is this going? Are we supposed to be accepting Freemasonry or looking further into it?
Yes.
Or why secretive? Why the secret society? Why separate? You know what I
well,
mean?
one, it's not a secret society. There's nothing about it secret.
Right.
Like everything.
But can anybody join?
Yes.
Can anybody be a Freemason?
If you don't have a criminal background, you can be a Freemason. If you have a
Okay.
criminal background, they won't accept you. That's literally the only. You have to be in good standing publicly. And then you have to. It's part of their application. You have to give an oath to the Constitution of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's on their application. So that's another thing when people are talking about they're trying to destroy
What are
America
the
and it's the
benefits?
Freemasons. It's like,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say maybe destroying it, but they did find it most. You know what I mean? Like Freemasonry is or from what I could tell, right? America was founded on Freemasonry, or at least a lot of them were Freemasons.
some were, most weren't as active.
Why?
as we're
Okay,
led to
okay. Let me
believe.
ask you this: Why did they have to be Freemasons and not state brick masons?
That I'm not sure. Well, a lot of it had to do with the crown. So, like, George Washington was a Freemason going back to England. Like, he didn't come to America and become an established, like, and you can even go back to his letters. And then this is, again, you're depending on, historical records.
Right, I know.
Whether
And what can we take? Right, I know.
But his words are, I hadn't been in a lodge in, I can't remember the exact amount of years. Like, it was over 10 years. Like, he wasn't an active Freemason. Like, you're only going to find paintings of him wearing Freemason regalia.
Right.
Not that you would actually have ever seen him that way. So I think there's a lot, and it's going to come back to, I think it comes back to Rome more than it comes back to Freemasonry. I think Freemasonry is by and large ignorant to pretty much everything. And it's just people, and yeah, some of them do the esoteric stuff, and they have false beliefs that are wrong,
right?
But it's not from them. It's from Rome is the origin. And like you said something about a minute ago about the different gods and deities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like Rome is what kept that alive and what dispersed it and kind of separated it and uses it, I think, as a tool to keep us from truly separating. Like it gives us this, oh, you can go to the church over here to this church. So you're going to hear me say a lot of things about the church being heaven and earth and stuff in a minute. And I don't mean Rome when I say that. I mean actual believers in Jesus, not attached to an institutional,
right,
whatever. People that just believe because they know it's right and they know it's true. But it gives you this, over here you've got the church and these people have this. Well, Protestantism, you get Freemasonry, and it's all divided up, and it's all about fighting and power and control and land battles and all this, junk. Right. And then just keeping us at odds and us not doing what our people have always done. And that's build. We leave and we build. We don't slaughter people in an attempt to save some ship that is failing. We just leave and we build. And guess what? We can still do that. We can still do that.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's what that's what Freemasonry for.
Where do we leave to?
Here. We don't have to go anywhere.
Step outside of it.
Dude, you can live outside of Babylon.
Right, and still be physically,
yes, you're always physically
in Babylon.
Within range.
Right.
But you can live outside of it. I've stepped outside the matrix completely, and I look at everything in a completely different way now. Completely. Well, I know that when I leave my house and go out in the world, I'm going out with the full armor of God into Satan's world, and everything's messed up out there. But at the same time, I don't let that bring me down, and I am polite and nice to people and try to bring joy to everybody's day. So it's a double-edged sword.
It's even more literal than that. It's more literal. Y'all just had Brandon, Williams, I think is his name. Didn't y'all just have him?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's literal.
He's saying, you can leave the system. Right,
you can walk outside of it. You can render to Caesar. Render to Caesar does not mean pay taxes.
I know.
It means to give back. This is yours. You gave me this shit. I didn't ask for it.
Right.
I wasn't born with it. You can have it because it's killing me. And I'm going to go over here and be a living man and be free. We can actually do that.
And for the literal people, when he says render unto Caesar what is his, that could mean that nothing is his also. Just so you know.
Especially
saying.
No part of you. No part of you personally.
Who sets up thrones and kingdoms and who tears them down? Everything is on lease. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if you think a 13th family is actually the one controlling this or that, because they're only leasing it.
Yeah, so I want to
Everyone.
ask you, who do you think is controlling everything? Who do you think's at the top? If you ask me, I will say I don't know, because if they're at the top, we've never heard of them. But I'm curious what you think.
You are.
Ooh. Ooh.
You are. It's literally you.
Ted's pulling
Elaborate.
strings.
I like where you're
Yeah.
going, and I think I
Ted's
completely agree.
Ted's like, we could take it this way. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's Bill too.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, no,
He's kinda like
Rufus,
the
it's
ringleader.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's me. I'm at the top. I'm at the top. I lead the triangle. At the pyramid, that's my eye.
I don't know, dude. What about the
And that's why you're trying to
reptilians?
convince us that the Freemasons are good, or what?
Yeah.
See,
Hey, hold up. You know where the Freemasons?
oops, I did this,
say-
guys. My bad.
I know where a lot of Freemasons say we should leave to and build outer space.
This is taking day.
They do
He's
say
got-
that.
Rufus
And
has
you've
a
seen
point, yeah.
the where they're all doing it.
The astronauts and stuff.
Right. So we go back to what I said earlier about knowing symbols and or having knowledge, whatever it is. But it's all about having it in the right perspective. And the right perspective isn't Robbie's perspective. It isn't Ted's or Bill's or anyone else's. It's Christ's. Not the church's. It's Christ's perspective. And Christ's perspective is that Bill is reconciled to God. And that Bill has the same authority that Jesus has. And that Ted can hand over that shit to Caesar, just like Jesus looked at Pilate and said, the authority you have, I give you. Because I'm choosing to be here and live in this. And I'm choosing to set this example and reveal God in the flesh. I'm choosing to show you how God feels about man. Everybody that came before me was a thief and a liar. And they showed you how man's nature is and how man views God. And Jesus said, Pilate, I came to show you how God's nature is and how he views you.
Yeah.
So even though I could take you out, Pilate, and take your authority, I'm going to die for you. Even though Caesar, I could take his, and he did. I'm going to die for him.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what Jesus did.
Yeah.
And he gave you the authority to do that. And the biggest lie that Rome ever told comes from the Nicene Council, and it's right at the end. I believe that Jesus is coming back for me in a bodily resurrection.
Right.
With that one thing, and then promising everybody for 2,000 years, oh, yep, Jesus is going to crack open that sky, and you're going to literally see him walk on the earth and come and get you, has kept people trapped and bound up from living in the kingdom of God right now, from being able to say, you know what, fuck Caesar, I'm out. Because they're thinking, oh, Jesus is coming to get me any day now. Jesus is going to, and you're going to die at 70, your kids hoping and thinking Jesus is coming to get them. Living in the matrix. It's the Catholics. It's the Freemasons. It's you. It's you. Jesus is literally the way of escape from the matrix. Like that's it. You want out is you emulate Christ. And when you walk out of this earth in this form, you're out. You don't come back again. There's a reason Catholicism in around 535-ish or so, I think it was, is when they made reincarnation a heresy. Hasn't always been. And I'm not saying just any old crazy version of reincarnation, but the church believed in reincarnation. Jews believed in versions of, or Hebrews believed in versions of reincarnation, obviously, because John was Elijah, etc. So the trap is Jesus is coming to get you on the clouds. And that's the only way you're going to get out. So in every generation, it's the end times over and over and over again.
I
And
believe
Freemasonry, more than anything, helps perpetuate that. Because all these religions that are, all these dogmas that come out of Freemasonry are all rooted in end times, or what's actually called, when you want to step outside of Christianity, millennialism.
Yeah, millennial.
Yep.
Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn, is a millennialist, not a Christian. He's not a blatant Jesus. He's a millennialist. They believe in these 1,000-year sets and these trying to make these prophecies happen and fulfill things.
Okay.
And that's who Babylon is. They're the ones that keep trying, and that's why they keep trying to break through the roof, and they'll never be able to break through the roof. They're trying to fulfill prophecy and build a temple in Jerusalem. They will never build another temple there. It will never happen. In my best Donald Trump, it'll never happen. Like, they'll never build another temple there. Not a Jewish one, anyway.
This they call this the short season, right? The millennial. Yeah.
Right. They want to. You're somewhere in this mix, and it's no. Jesus came to get the remnant of Israel, which started with Peter. That's why he called him the little rock. You're the remnant, and then upon this rock, the big rock. And if you read this, the rock is not the revelation of Jesus' deity, even though Jesus is divine. But that's not what the rock is. The rock is literally, he's standing on Mount Hermon. In the New Testament, it's Capernaum. But if you look at the location in history, it's Mount Hermon. Well, what happened at Mount Hermon?
That's where
That's
fallen
where the
angels came
fall.
down. Yep.
So Jesus is on Mount Hermon saying, on this rock, I'm going to build my church. And the gates of hell was a literal stream at this place. The god Pan was worshipped there for Pantheon, Pandemonium, all these things. And there was a stream and like a baptismal pool, which is why the church uses it, because Christ defeated it. That's why the church baptizes like that. There was this little pool back there. They would do their sacrifice and all their pagan shit. And they would go into Pandemonium and fuck goats and fuck each other and fuck kids and all kinds of crazy stuff. And Jesus is right there with his apostles looking at these people saying, I'm going to build my church right here. And the gates of hell won't prevail.
That's some boss shit. That's the only way to put it. I'm going to build my shit right here.
Yes.
And they're not like,
Where these
that's like
were in
a
Tartarus.
Crip setting up shop right in front of Blood's headquarters. That's what that is right there. Like, I'm going to do it right here. What you going to do?
He took his remnant. He took Peter. He took his other apostles. There's 12. He sent out 72. So there's 84. And then you got 120 on the day of Pentecost. And then they added 3,000. And then they added 5,000. It says, even as many as the Lord our God shall call. Well, how many did he call? 144,000.
There, that number.
So up to 100 during the New Testament era, during that generation, 144,000 Hebrews from all the 12 tribes came from all the different places. You can see them in Acts chapter 2. They were coming from the Medes and the Persians and all these that were devout men coming to Jerusalem.
12 from 12, right? That's how.
Right. And that's your 144,000 happened literally, not some weird Jehovah's Witness. I'm 140. There's millions of J-Dubs, and they all think they're part of the 144,000.
Before we continue on, one question I've always had, and I'm going to get shit for this. If they believe that only 144,000 people can make it into the kingdom of God, why are they the ones knocking on people's doors trying to recruit more people?
You're going to lose your spot to somebody you knock on their door.
I know. Like, my grandbaby can't get in because I went to knock on that door.
Evangelizing is literally the dumbest thing you can do as a J-Dub.
I know, it's crazy to me. I've never. Okay,
don't
sorry,
have any
I
more kids
digress. I know.
Your son might replace you.
It's such a bad thing, man. It's such a bad thing.
Oh,
that's good.
But so Jesus saves his Hebrews, which includes some Jews, but not all Jews are Hebrews. Not all Hebrews are Jews. You know,
big difference.
Yeah. Right.
Between Israelis and the Israelites.
Yeah,
big difference.
Name sealers.
So he takes the 144,000 and then gives it over to the Gentiles. And that's what Paul is doing, dispensing grace.
Right.
And there, this dispensation of grace, while he's dispensing it, handing out grace, being everything to all men so that he could save anybody by any means necessary, which is why people have this crazy, like, Paul's just, we can't listen to Paul. Yeah, you can, because he's reconciling. That's what the whole point is, reconciliation. That doesn't mean he's making everybody a Jew.
Man,
he's making everybody Christ. He's not making
some heated conversations about people that are like, Paul, every word Paul said to the literalist form, and they're just like with the women and all that, and I'm like, dude, you got to calm the hell down, bro. Like, you're chasing people away, dude. Like,
with no understanding of what's being done in the context.
Paul said this, and this is the way it is, and that, it's like, damn, dude. Like, no, you know. Especially with the women thing, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I digress. I just wanted to get that out there because I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine. Like, I work with him, and we talk about this kind of stuff all day long. And Grace came up actually recently. And,
right.
You know, it's just like the people that are, oh, well, I'm saved by grace. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's a little more than that. You know what I mean?
Get mad at me in a minute because it's better than that. It's better than the grace.
I'm ready,
dude. So in this, Christ gets his 144. He goes to the Gentiles, and then he returns, just like he said he would, with the clouds. And if we read the Old Testament, the key to the New Testament is literally reading the Old Testament. Like, Paul talks about being a good Berean, those that would study, and they would go to the Old Testament and the scriptures to verify what they're saying is true. Mm-hmm. Well, today in the church, we go to the New Testament, then we just start making shit up about whatever we see going on around us instead of going to the scriptures.
Back, right.
So Paul is referring to Israel being judged. Grace is being dispensed, and then judgment's coming. And in 66 AD, the Roman armies, called the Iron Army, or the Rod of Iron, come to judge apostate Israel, those that rejected. The Christians had fled when they saw the army, just like Jesus warned, when you see the armies coming in, flee to the hills. Mm-hmm. We know that they went to Pella, some went to Petra. Like, we have record of these different things happening. Right. Like, we know it happened. He said, and this is the end. You know this is the end. And how did they know? Because heaven and earth was going to pass away. Heaven and earth means the temple. It's where God meets man. That's heaven and earth. It's not, I'm not saying there's not heaven when we leave this body, because that is true. But that's not what heaven and earth means when it's talking about passing away. God is not going to ever destroy that heaven or this earth. The Ecclesiastes 1:4, generations come, generations go. The earth will abide forever. Just never. This is never going anyway. So when we see earth being destroyed and things like that, we have to learn from the Old Testament what it's talking about. And earth is where the Gentiles were allotted their space in the temple system. Okay. You had the Holy of Holies. You had the mercy seat would come in on the ark. That's where the presence would come. Heaven would literally meet earth right there. But then the outer courts where the Gentiles were, that was considered earth. And the sea, there was a big bowl in the middle. And you can go read about it in Kings 7 and 2nd Chronicles, 1 Kings 7 and 2nd Chronicles. I'm going to lie, probably 4 or 42.
Dude, I'm so bad at chapter and verse.
I can't remember.
Bad. I'm so bad at that.
It talks about building the sea and then making the sea. And it would have these oxen under it. It's this big, huge piece that went in the temple, and the priest would wash in it. And the sea would divide. So when in Revelation it says the sea was no more, that's what it's talking about, because the temple's gone. The sea, the elements being melted away, it's the laver and the sea and the altar. These things that were made of fine jewels and precious metals melted as loot and taken away as it was destroyed, is what this is all saying in Revelation. It's judging apostate Israel, the ones that said, nope, we're going to kill him instead. Whenever he gave the parable of the people who leased the land, the landowner, And he sent a servant, and they killed the servant. That's his prophets. And it says, well, surely they'll accept my son. So he sends his son. They kill the son. And he comes and fucks them up. Like, that's the story. What do you think this good landowner's, this father's going to do? And so that's the story. They let his blood be upon us. So why would Jesus be coming back 2,000 years later to kill people and destroy something against the people who said it? Let his blood be on our hands and our children's hands. Like, they said it.
So wait a minute, man. You're saying that all this stuff already happened?
All of it. 100%.
It's like a history book?
The New Testament is the end times. Hebrews 1, chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Actually, I'll just pull it up for you so I'll make sure I don't misquote it. Shit, iPad's trying to update. Dumbass. Let's go here. Bible. Let's go to Hebrews.
How many people do you get into debates about this with on a regular basis?
It doesn't go very far because I've got a poison pill that you can't, like, biblically you cannot. I'll give it to you in a second. This is actually one of them too. Hebrews 1 verses 1 and 2. This is Paul, or not Paul actually. This is the writer of Hebrews.
Right.
And we can get into who I think that is later if you want to. Okay. But God, after he spoke, he's speaking to the Hebrews in that generation. He's not talking to anybody that didn't know Jesus.
As it's named.
Right.
Hebrews. Yeah.
God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers, and if we want to be specifically, he's talking to the priesthood. Mm-hmm. He's talking to the Hebrew priesthood who followed Jesus, the ones that actually left, Pharisees that left, not just the rando everyday believer. This book is written to the priesthood. God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers in the prophets, in many portions and in many ways, in these last days has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things. Right. So when were the last days?
Then
those last days, who he's talking to. Like, you have to read it from their perspective. And he's telling them, before Jesus, it was the prophets. Mm-hmm. It was the servant that came. But in these last days, it's his Son that he came to speak to us with. Right. That's the end. The New Testament is the end times. Everything about it always says soon to take place, imminent, at hand, must now happen. Behold, I'm coming soon.
Yeah, but every day is like 1,000 days, and God. Yeah.
I'm at have that. Nah, I'm just kidding. Man.
But here's
so what are we living in? Then what are we living in?
Where do you want to live?
if you that was good, dude.
Just fell out
that was good.
Chair.
Yeah, that was
Where
good.
do you want to live?
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't mean to laugh so hard, but like,
no,
it's a rare time. It's a rare time that I see Ted just go. It's so you got him.
Jesus brought the kingdom, bro.
Yeah.
You can live in his kingdom. You could try to build your own on sand outside of it, or you can live in Babylon. Or you can try to do a hybrid version, a mix of all of it, and it's just a shit show and leaves you chasing rabbits down rabbit holes all the time.
I'm going to go out on a limb, but I'm pretty sure all of us here are, if we haven't already, almost out of Babylon.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, that is our intent.
So that's a good segue to the poison pill then.
Okay, bring it. Bring it.
Mystery Babylon. Okay, we're just going to go to the Bible. Mm-hmm. We don't, and let me quote this one. Bringing it as a prayer. We're going to bring into captivity every thought, every imagination, every high thought into the obedience of Christ. Not our imagination, not what we think should happen or what we should see, but being obedient to Jesus.
Okay.
All right. Revelation 18, 17 and 18 both talk about Mystery Babylon. I'm going to go specifically to 18 because it goes back and makes the point and just shows us that every single answer is in the Bible already there. Sometimes even in the New Testament already.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to skip down to verse 21. Then a strong angel, and this comes back to me saying they'll never build a temple there again. Then a strong angel picked up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "So will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will never be found again. And the sound of harpists, musicians, flute players, and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. And no craftsman of any craft will ever be found in you again. And the sound of a mill will never be heard in you again. And the light of a lamp will never shine in you again. And the voice of the groom and bride will never be heard in you again. For your merchants were the people of the earth." The merchants, what? "Because all nations were deceived by your witchcraft." What is witchcraft according to the Bible?
I don't.
See, we get twisted and want to think of all the demon and
Right,
spells.
but now that if you pointed out the word merchant, am I going in the right
Rebellion.
direction? Okay,
It's rebellion.
that's it.
Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Who was rebellious? Israel. Over and over and over. That's their witchcraft. Rebelling. Look now, who rebels against the word of God? Babylon. Anyway, key verse
So
right here, verse
while
24.
you're in-
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, while you're in Revelations, do you mind reading chapter 3, verse 9?
Yeah, we'll go to it.
Okay.
So, verse 24, "And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all who have been slaughtered on the earth." All right. So, let's go. Does any of that sound familiar to you other than it being in Revelation from reading before?
Yeah.
It should sound really, really familiar, but you just can't place it because you've probably
about where
read
I'm
it
at.
and heard it a million times. But it's going to be in Matthew chapter 23. I'm going to start at verse 31. "So you testify against yourselves." This is Jesus rebuking the Pharisees. "So you testify against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of guilt of your fathers. You snakes, you offspring of vipers, how will you escape the sentence of hell?" What was Eve's seed's job? To crush the head of the seed of the serpent. These are the offspring of the serpent, of vipers. He's here to crush their head. "Therefore," verse 34, "behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will flog in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, so that upon you will fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth."
Yeah, it's pretty close to what you were talking about in Revelation.
Hold on. It gets better. "From the blood," we're going to name it. Jesus is going to name it. He don't mince words. He flips tables.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
From
do that.
the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. So it can't be Rome, because the temple and the altar, we know where they are. "Truly, I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who have been sent to her."
Yeah.
Jerusalem is Mystery Babylon, or was.
The merchants.
The merchants. It's over and over and
Yeah.
over.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
And I can't believe I didn't see it before, honestly. That's all
the
I'm
Bible
saying.
is relevant. Revelation, these things are relevant to us,
Right.
not because we're going to see these actual events, because those things weren't ours, but to see the cycle And that's how we can wake up to see, it doesn't matter what the Freemasons are doing.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the Catholic Church is doing. It doesn't. Be a light.
I guess you're right, and that's where I'm at without ever realizing it, because I know all this shit, but I don't let it affect what I'm doing in my life. Like literally today, not bullshitting, I brought food to 2 different homeless people, had a long conversation with them, a great conversation with them. You'll hear shit from them you never hear from anybody. And
That's
I
true.
do this all
That
the
is true.
time.
Yeah.
And I never expected to be that kind of person. And I used to think people like that were crazy. And I feel like I report on this, but I don't bring it into my home. That's where I'm at. I don't let it affect my life. My life is great. The world may suck, but my life is beautiful. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm the best I've ever been to other people. It's just so, yes, I do dwell in the darkness a little bit, dip my toe in it and talk about it, but I do not bring it. The second my phone goes down and it goes away, that does not go on in my life. Me and my wife don't talk about it. She's on the same page I am. When we do talk about it, we talk about it. But other than that, our life is good. I feel like that's how you have to be. You have to be that way.
What do you think, Rufus?
I mean, I think you said that you find the answers in the Bible, but I've always thought and felt like I feel like we can find the answers within ourselves.
Oh, yes.
And I know that the Creator would be smart enough to know that, yes, the words may have been put there, but they can also be changed. And there are people out there who don't have righteous intentions. And so we're already encoded. We have the morals. We know the difference between right and wrong. We know what it takes to be a good person.
If we can program this, then he can program this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
man.
where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Do you
Yeah.
believe that we're okay? But do you think there's spiritual warfare going on, or is this the collection of his people coming together? There's an awakening going on, right? Can we all agree that this is like these last few years
There
a little
is.
more?
Yeah, what do
And
you think that's about
what-
in the plan?
Where does this all fall in place? Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about
God is awake. God is doing a new thing, just
Okay.
like he did a new thing then.
Okay.
People will reject it, especially Christians are going to reject it, even though it's a Christian thing that he's doing.
Yes.
It's still a Christ, because Christ is God, and people can whatever all about it all day long. He's God. And I'm not one that talks about experience much, because your example and knowledge outweigh your experience. And if you're listening to people because they make you feel good or they have a good story of an experience, then you have itchy ears. Because I came to this new knowledge in the Bible, and I thought I didn't need him anymore because of it. And a lot of people will lean to that. Well, Jesus already came back. Why do I need Jesus? Blah, blah, blah. Because Jesus didn't come back to take you from the earth. He came for you to make the earth, to build a kingdom, to shape it, to be a light, to be him, to empower you to do greater things. Like he died in that flesh to empower you to do greater things. And that greater thing is, first and foremost, you conquer yourself. You die. You have to kill yourself. Sucks, but you have to.
I have
Gotta
been
put
there. I've come out the other side for sure.
Right.
Man.
Not literally, people. Chill
Yes.
out. Yeah. Someone's like, "What?"
This is why we can't be on YouTube. Or
This is
I knew
why
you were a
can't have nice
demon.
things.
Like our
Oh,
ego
you
is
do.
going to always say, yeah, but I can do this right here this way. And it's, yeah, but that was no, you got to die. You
Dude,
have to
How close
die.
is that feeling when you first realized the big lie? I felt like the old me died.
Dude, when for me, see, to me, flat earth is a gateway.
Yeah.
And-
was the most literal thing. I'd already been a Christian, right? Like I'll just say that. Like I'd been raised that way. Let me put it that way. Okay.
It's not
But
even a
when-
gateway. It's the only conspiracy.
It's the skeleton key,
it's
man.
the right.
It
Like
skeleton
is
key.
the
Yeah.
only one.
right.
The rest
It's-
of it is Babylon nonsense.
It's so crazy though.
Dude,
It's so wild.
Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
it's just
Go.
such. And I know I get excited, and I know you
I
do
do
too,
too,
because it was
yeah.
such a spiritual experience. Like it was
Yes.
so incredible, dude. Like that death that you go through, those stages. You know
Thank
what I mean?
God we
Like,
went through it together. But
Oh
keep
my
going.
God.
You're
Yeah,
like, oh
thankfully,
shit,
right?
man! I
I
gotta
can't
change
even-
my life. I gotta get my house in order. You know?
dude, like, yeah, when you finally go and then you realize, like, wow, what have I been doing? You know what I mean? Like, who have I been serving?
Dude, even as
Yes.
someone growing up literally in church on the inside, not just a church member,
Right.
like
Right,
in
right, right.
leadership and doing those things. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
the stuff I preached, the things I said, the things I did, and I thought that was godly.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was-
wow.
Oh,
But people
But
would
I
get
also
mad 'cause I
believe
say
that
fuck.
it was all part of your path. It was all part of your
Yeah,
path. that you're gonna
100%.
do.
Yeah.
Because for me, if honestly, I feel like I'm sure if any Globie's gonna clip this, they're gonna talk crap on me. But I feel like my strength as a flat earther or as a truther, whatever you want to call it, is that I think like a normal person. Like I was a normie. I was fully a normie. I didn't vote. I've only voted once in my life in a primary, and that's it. I've never voted in a presidential thing, and I never will. But I wanted Obama to win the first time. The first time I was
Get out there. I'm
that,
just kidding.
and I'm gone. No, I literally did. I did because
Yeah.
I was just like that.
Yeah,
old
you're watching
thing.
a transformation right here.
Yeah,
For
if
sure.
if you're a liberal or if you're a Republican before 30, you have no heart. If you're a liberal after 30, you
Yeah.
have no brain. I was that dude, man.
Same.
I was
Yep.
that dude. And I can say at 40, I'm neither because I see the whole system as screwed. But if you're going to lean one way, my beliefs completely more align with the Republican side now.
Oh
But
God, yeah.
I was a Democrat or a liberal before. That's where I was. But it changed my life. It changed who I was. I was an atheist. I was in a band. I used to make upside down crosses on stage. Not that I believed in Satan either. I didn't believe in any of it. I thought it was all nonsense.
Bro's
So-
invoking St. Peter and didn't even know it. That's why every time Satanist talks about an upside down cross, I'm like, okay, I love you. You're just
You don't even know what
invoking
you're doing.
Peter.
I'm just saying that's where I was at. It was all a joke to me. So for me, it was a life altering thing, and it was a huge ego check. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. That's the what separates the men from the boys, the awake from the asleep. Is are you willing to say, "Holy shit, I've been wrong my whole life"? And a lot of people don't have the fortitude to do that. They can't do it. It'll break their brain. They'll end up
That's
comatose.
the ego
Something.
death. Mhm.
Yeah, they can't do it. And for me, honestly, it was simple because I've never had a big ego. I've never been like a cocky person. I was just like, hey man,
Me either.
I fucking I was like, shit, I was wrong. Like I went through it with Bill. Like
Yeah.
and luckily
But
I
he was
had
angry too, though. He was angry
Yeah,
too, which is
I
it's
was.
rightfully so because like he's like everything that I was taught that I grasped onto as truth was a lie. And that was
Yeah.
so powerful when he said that because it meant so much more than what he knew it meant at that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's just talking about like the vacuum of space and stuff at this moment. You know what I mean? He's just like, it's such a lie. You can't have a vacuum up against, and he's just going, and he's just like, it doesn't work. It's such a lie.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah,
I was
dude, because
told
I
was
did
a lie.
HVAC. I
Right,
did
yeah.
HVAC, so it hit hard with me
Right,
when I
yeah.
started looking at vacuums and
Think about the
atmosphere. I was
pressure.
like,
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
pressure,
yeah,
and
the
not
gr-
only pressure,
the
the things,
gradient.
the things that people never talk about is that pressure and temperature they go together. So when pressure rises, temperature rises. When pressure lower, temperature lowers. So there's a lot in that, but we won't get into all that. But so for me, it was like, holy shit, I use this every day in my real life, and I am seeing that this is not possible. I know what happens, and they can talk about gradients all they want. And my favorite is when they go, show me a gradient in a container. I'm like, do you have a fucking propane tank? Go look, I'll show you. Every
Literally
contained gas has a
every
gradient.
container.
I know, it's so bad.
No.
So yeah, for me it was an awakening. It was life changing. It was slow in the beginning because, you know, we're all back and forth. But it was slow in the beginning. But once I got the confidence to come out about it publicly, at that point my life changed dramatically, man. I ground every day. I thank God every day. I never ask God for anything unless it's look after this person. I thank God every day for everything. Thank God
give
for
him
my
the
wife.
glory.
Thank God for my friend. Yeah, exactly.
That's the first thing I open my prayer with. God, you get all the glory.
And I'm
And
just going to be
then-
honest. I'm hoping because one day when I do ask for something, no, I'm just kidding. But
You want me to tell you how he gets the glory?
Yes.
yes.
When you ask.
Well, then I
He's your-
guess when I do
he's
feel
your
the need
dad,
to
bro.
ask, I'll ask.
Yeah.
He's your dad.
You know, oh wow, that's so awesome because it is being a dad. You know what I mean? Like that is like come to me.
He
Come
wants you
to
to
me.
ask. Say it.
Right?
What happened when the prodigal came home?
Yeah, he said he was so
Bro,
thankful that he has a home.
He didn't even have to ask.
Right, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Come in. Yep.
He just maybe he just in
Tears
his
of joy.
heart.
So
in
much
his
joy.
heart.
Yeah.
Maybe my father will let me be a servant.
Ew.
And that was in his heart. He didn't even say it out loud. Just in his heart. Maybe my dad will let me be a servant in this house. At least then I'll have a roof and some food.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad put everything on him as soon as he saw him.
Yep.
You know what's beautiful about that? When you're saying that, that's like touching my heart. I'm like, that registers with me, man. Yes, like because I've never been able to put it like that, but I just knew. And again, I'm a new believer, a new true believer, I guess. I believed other times in my life, but like actually, I'm not even a believer. I don't believe in God. I know God. I know. No one can convince me otherwise. I know God. I talk to him every day. I know he's there. I don't care what name you want to give him. I don't care if I mess up a verse sometimes. I don't care if I mess up his name sometimes. He knows me and I know him, and that's enough for me. But to come across all this, like it just changed me like rapidly, man. Like rapidly it changed my life. So it's
And how awesome is it that all of us we notice things that we never noticed before, right? Like his creation, his actual creation, and our place in it. You know what I
dude,
mean?
I feel like he
and
might know more about this
our
than any of us.
importance.
You're out
Go
there
ahead.
in God's creation, right? No, I'm just saying, because you were talking about getting outside the system. I'm assuming you're out there in God's creation, living it up. I'm
Almost.
jealous.
We're in the process.
Oh,
yeah?
good, man.
Yes, we
Ooh.
got some stuff happening. I actually just launched a crowdfund thing for something I'm working on.
Oh,
But-
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll tell you about it in a second.
Okay.
But in the same vein that he likes you, he wants you to ask. Like that's where he gets glory. The joy of the Lord is your strength. What's the joy of the Lord? You are. He delights in you. He delights in his creation. All of it. That's the joy of the Lord. Your strength is in the fact that you have a Father beyond you that loves you and holds you. And when you're done testing out all this shit, he's going to still be holding you.
Right.
He's going to show you the error of your ways. He's going to give you a scolding that's going to break your heart. And just like when you do your toddler, you don't have to touch them. You just show them, and it breaks their heart. And that little quivering lip shows up, and their entire world is crushed. And they feel like the world has ended. And then you pick them up, and you wrap your arms around them, and it all melts away. That's what's going to happen.
It is.
Doesn't matter if it's what we perceive of someone like Hitler that we're told they did, or Benjamin Netanyahu. It doesn't matter who they are.
Right.
They're going to
Opposite
stand
ends of the
there.
spectrum.
He's going to tear it down. He's going to purge it. He's going to purify. But at the end of the day, he's a good father. And that's
I
why he
believe
sent
that.
Christ. He was in Christ. And it even says it in there, was. Not he's going to, not he plans to, not a little bit, but he was in Christ, reconciling the world unto himself. That's why you're at the top. And you can actually decide.
Damn.
So I want to get to something else, but real quick. So does that mean you believe that you can manifest your reality, that your thoughts and your beliefs affect your reality? Because I do 100%. I'm just being flat out, but a lot of people
Absolutely.
think that's what is it, Bill? You know what I'm talking about? That's
New
wizardry.
Age.
That's New Age.
Christ,
mumbo jumbo.
Christ consciousness derived from Kabbalah, right? Am I wrong on that, or am I kind of right on that?
I
Yeah.
just
Yes,
so
it is. And that's the Christ consciousness is the deception.
Okay.
It's the mind of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And people will say, well, no, see, if you had the mind of Christ, then you're no, it's purposely, that's those little things that twist to give you that false light, and it builds up your ego. Because because what I'm telling you that you're at the top is not to build your ego, because you got to die. Like, you're at the top, but you have to die. The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Like, he's got to figure shit out.
Right.
So it's not like this. I'm not trying to sell pie in the sky, like
Right.
New Ageism stuff.
Ascension to the 10th dimension,
Right.
with Jesus, alien guy.
Right. But that's why it sounds similar.
Right.
Because one is a false light and one is submitting your ass to Jesus Christ. And if you want to manifest and you want to put your things that you want out there and it to actually work out in the long run, you want to see these things come to fruition, you put it under Christ, because then you don't have the stress about it. You don't have the worry. The government is on his shoulder. Right. If you put the government on his shoulder, he will carry it. He just will.
I think we're trying to get there.
We can manifest things even on our own. We can do that. Yes, it's real. And like Christians try to come, no, you can do that. But you're going to always be building on sand.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And it's going to, you'll look and you'll be like, oh, how'd that get just snatched out from under me? Why did that just happen over there? Why did that just crumble? Because the foundation of it is sand.
When you were talking about putting the government on God's shoulders like that, I feel like we're going that way. We're trying to. Am I off on that a little bit? Am I close? Like, this whole part of this whole movement right now is to bring God back, bring us
I think so.
back to him. Yeah, I feel that way. I really do.
I wrote an article on my website called Sons of God Be Loosed, and I'll share it with y'all.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to get it. Yeah, any links you got, we're going to put them up and all that.
God is waking. That's why this Antarctica thing, I'm not saying we're going to Antarctica to escape, but it's the mind of knowing, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to be locked into this.
Right.
Like, whether we physically ever travel beyond where we are right now doesn't matter. We can both in the spirit realm and physically create whatever we want.
Yeah. I'm already outside it, man.
About learning, like, just for instance, like, I'm creating a trust right now to buy some land. We're going to buy about 20 acres, and we're going to build an RV campsite with RVs and cabins and stuff. It's going to be open to the public to make money, but it's going to be built into a trust. It won't be an LLC or a corporation or anything like that. And I can will that to my kids. I can will it to anyone I want as it goes down. I can do whatever I want with it. It's mine, and no one else can say anything.
Right.
I can have investors that just want to make money, that have no say, and they can be playing in Babylon all they want. And I'll take Babylon's little money and I'll throw it in here and I'll turn it around like someone that's been given some talents, and I'll give Babylon back their little shit, and I'll have my little spot over here.
Oh,
But
that's awesome. So we got
I'm
about
working
like
on it.
10,
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes left. I want to ask you, we sometimes when we remember to get to it, I like to ask people a bunch of questions like rapid fire in a row. So I just want to ask you, what do you think of, let's start with the simplest, like chemtrails. What do you think of them?
I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
no, I mean, I just don't consider it anymore. Like, it's there. I know it's legit.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. But it's not a thing. It's part of the Babylonian construct.
right. I don't care.
Yeah, well, there goes
Like,
all
yeah,
of
it might
them.
kill me, but it won't
Yeah.
kill me. Do you know why it
Ru-
won't kill me?
Yeah,
'Cause-
I do.
And why it won't give me cancer? And I can say this confidently.
Say it.
Because if I pick up anything that's deadly, if I drink anything that's poison, it's not going to harm me.
Right.
Now, if I intentionally try to harm myself in that way, yeah, it's going to. Nobody else is getting over on me because I live in the kingdom
Yes, sir.
and it does it. So spray the clouds, hide the sun,
Do
Right.
put a
what
number
I do.
on my arm. I still live in the kingdom.
Very nice.
you go.
That like rules out everything else because that's going to be the same answer for all of it. Because it's just
Dinosaurs or
gonna-
giants?
Well, here, I'll give you this, and it's a great closing because this is exactly how it's worded. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, and whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, and if there be any virtue or any praise, think on these things. Flat Earth is
Absolutely.
beautiful
Yeah,
and
it is.
virtuous in what God
it is.
created. That's
Yes,
why I
sir.
say it's the only conspiracy theory. And everything else, that's why God let that get out. He
Yeah.
used it. People think it's a gateway when it's really the exit. It's the escape
Oh.
route, just like Jesus is the escape route. God's truth, whatsoever things are true, are going to bring you out of Babylon. So if what you're in keeps you tied up in Babylon and keeps you not being able to focus on the good and the pure, it's not for you necessarily, but everybody that's watching, especially in conspiracy land, guys, your conspiracies are the same thing as their mainstream narrative to them. It's the same thing. It's all the same. There's no third option except separation. Come out from among them and be ye separate.
I think that's the ultimate goal, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're trying to bring some people with us in the process, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
We're
we got to
hanging
throw them
back
out
for a
there.
few minutes.
With that, campchapel.life. Camp, like you're going camping.
Yes.
Chapel, like a church. Dot life, life. Campchapel.life. This
There
is
it is.
very. I'm going very, very mainstreamy as far as promotion because I want to get somebody's money up in this sucker.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we're gonna be very almost like an Amish. If the Amish were to evangelize, that's what is about to happen.
That's
Wow.
beautiful. That's awesome.
So we can bring some with us that way.
yes, sir.
Send me an invite.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely drop in for sure. Check it
Yeah,
out.
dude, I used to think that flat Earth was there to distract everyone from the Babylonian nonsense, and now we know that most of the Babylonian nonsense is probably there to distract us from
The real,
what we truly are.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Christ already beat it. Like the trap for them is that they truly think they've not done this before. And so they're just trying again. And they think they'll shoot up another rocket, and they'll tell another story to prolong whatever they need to prolong, because they think they can get out. And they don't. They already lost. It's already been done.
Right.
Where you going? Nowhere.
The nightmare is theirs, not ours. And once you realize
I like
that,
that.
like
Yeah,
there's
I
no
like that.
13 families you have to worry about. There's no big boogeyman. It's their nightmare, and they just want you to be part of it.
Right. They feed off that.
Wow.
You know, I think we
I
used
see,
to be in like a God-fearing society and a high-trust society, and somehow we got away from that. So how did that even happen? Is it just the process of them continuing to try and get people
It's
away
the
from
Babylon, yeah. It's the Babylon, it's the system, and that's what Earth will always be here. And so it will always be there, and Christ will always be there at the right hand of the Father, interceding. He'll always be there at the right hand of the Father, rapturing those who die. He'll always be there. All these things that we see, like that the futurist message of the Bible tells us we're looking for, they are real things, but not in the same manner. The real version happened, the literal, to those people, to the ones he promised it. Be useless to promise Peter something he was never going to partake of.
Right.
Be useless, to tell John to get up and measure a temple that wasn't even standing. All these different things.
Yeah.
But it shows us Christ instituted. Ephesians 3:21 tells us that God receives glory in the church, which is the believers, the body, those that believe in Christ, and in Jesus Christ from generation to generation forever. That's how you can know another way you can know that was the end then, because it's forever. The generations, the church and Jesus forever. That's the kingdom. That's heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Christ, from his ascension to his descending and his rapturing to the church, to the body of believers, constantly. And whenever a perceived enemy, when Babylon gets strong enough and this whole nonsense gets started up again, he scoops out another group and you go build off somewhere else. So it does happen again, but it's just not this. We came to America.
Apocalyptic kind of.
Jesus raptured and we came to America.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, so we're not going to be flying out of our shoes into the sky, and
not till you lay this down.
Okay.
Once you lay this down, then all bets are off.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think happens after you die?
I think that you see God. I think God judges you, everybody. But I think he judges everybody through Christ. Everybody, just like everyone inherited sin through Adam. Everyone is born in Christ since then, because Adam's dead and gone and Christ lives forever. So everyone, you're not born a sinner.
There's no original sin.
Yeah, you're not a sinner saved by grace. They were sinners saved by grace. We are children of promise who live in the kingdom. It's here. Christ established it. His apostles established it. That's what they were doing so that could be here. We get to reap. More blessed are the ones that don't see and believe. They saw it. We don't, and we are more blessed because of it. We didn't have to see that. We didn't have to endure those. Not that you won't be persecuted ever for believing some crazy shit, because you will.
Right.
But we won't endure that thing. We're not going to see this 7-year tribulation mess. We don't have temples to be torn down. Christ established a temple. This one. And he wrote his law right here on all of us. Every single human has it right there. And there just comes a point where Christ awakens. He's always there, just knocking. Just knocking, always. And all the bullshit around us, from people, from society, whatever, is always on top of that, trying to drown out that just,
Right. Right.
and it's always there, always, and will never, it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what you say, what you think, nothing will separate you from that. You can drown it out as much best you can, but it's going to be there. And the moment that you let your guard down for just a second and say, oh, what is that noise? It's going to start busting your eardrums out.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it's over, bro. It's over. You have to either give up and start trying to see where this takes you and what you're supposed to do, or you have to just inebriate yourself beyond.
Or
You
choose
know,
the opposite
right.
path and go the
Right.
bad way.
Completely
Go,
yeah.
go away from that and go the opposite. It's the only choices, really. You're right. Drown it out, go with it, or go the other way, man.
Like, it doesn't matter how much something sounds good to me. Like, Donald Trump will say something, and like you said, like, I'm right. Donald Trump ain't right enough. Like, I'm far right when it comes to stuff. The wise veer to the right, the fool to the left, and the other fools stay in the middle. Like,
It's called the right because it ain't wrong, man.
right.
Dude, I gotta tell you, I know I'm speaking for all of us. Wow, what a conversation. I didn't see this.
I feel like we could go on forever, honestly.
Right.
Like, there's so much to talk about.
Which we'll have you back. I hope you'd like to come back, because I know there's so much more we could talk about. And we were kind of all over the place, and I loved how you were allowing us to, you know what I mean, take what we've been told or what we think we know and to challenge you at it, and you come right back and say, well, this is this and that is that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's
we need a little time to digest it. And right now, since you look like Randy Quaid a little bit, we're gonna say the shitter is full right now. We need a little time to clean it out, and then we're gonna come back and have all.
No,
sorts
dude,
of
thank you
questions
so
for
much.
I'm going to leave you with one verse, because this is perfect for exactly where you're at right now. The shitter's full.
Yeah.
And the Cogdis train is coming.
Yeah.
And the whataboutisms, which are my favorite thing. Flat Earth is what made me able to study the Bible and see this. Because anyway.
Yeah, we'll save
Let's
that
leave
one.
this, right.
Yeah.
We'll go back to this, go to this last verse, because this covers whataboutisms. So I've showed you Mystery Babylon in Scripture. And we know that the temple was torn down, right? We know Jesus prophesied that the temple would be torn down.
Yes.
So we identified that Jerusalem's Mystery Babylon. We see that in history, the temple was torn down, all these things. And so our brain automatically wants to go, well, what about eclipses? What about this? What about that? What about this? Well, what about this thing in Revelation, or this thing in Isaiah, or this thing here? Blah, 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 blah. We've seen one thing. Jesus said, these be the days of vengeance where all things written be fulfilled. John 21 and 25. But there are also many other things which Jesus did, which if they were written in detail, I expect that even the world itself would not contain the books that would be written. Jesus said all. I can see one thing to confirm that he wasn't a liar. This thing happened. His apostles told me that they couldn't even write everything that he did. I just need the one. And I know it all happened.
There it is.
That's all it takes. Again, that goes right back to what I said about the curve. If we see it one time, all the rest is nonsense, man. That's what it comes back to.
Everything.
If you can prove it once, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Fade us out, man.
Fade it out. Yeah, dude, that was that was so awesome, man. It was a great conversation. Again, I felt like I knew you before we even talked, and I feel like we could talk for hours. It was great, and we hope to have you back someday. Like those.
Oh, heck yeah.
We get I'm sure we can get into all kinds of stuff. I'm sure. there's
Everybody
things
go
I'm not
over
even
to
thinking
his
about.
TikTok. Let's push this. Let's see if we can get him back up to at least halfway of what he was before, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll all be under there. Yeah, and we'll push your Twitter too. And again, don't forget, I'll send you the thing. I gotta link up with you on Twitter because I'm better there. But I'll send you our space. We'd love if you come up and talk about Flat Earth. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Early Flat Earth stuff. New believers, not believers. New people who have their eyes open. Come in and have questions. Yes.
Radius.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
So if you want to come up and talk, we'd love to have you. This was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you guys.
All right, man. We will talk soon.
Thanks, man.
Everybody, thanks for listening. I never say this. This is probably the first time. If you're still listening, please subscribe, share, do all that.
Oh,
because
heck
that's
yeah.
the only way new people see us. I always forget to say that. Please do that. Everybody, good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.